It's time for networking. All right, so I'm going to configure Riverbed SSL Optimization. And I'm going to do this using what's called virtual Empath. And the reason for that is because I'm going to use the Palo to implement policy-based forwarding rules to force certain traffic towards my server-side steelhead down here, right? And so basically what I have here, and just to give you a rundown, this is basically my, we'll say my data center, right? So I have a web server in here, web.lab.com, 192.168.128.30, right? And I also have my management interfaces for my server-side steelhead, which is sh.lab.com, and my steelhead mobile controller, which is smc.lab.com, right? And so what I want to do here is I have a client that's VPN'd in using Global Protect. I want to run a Riverbed mobile client on this endpoint, this computer, right? And it's going to act as the client-side steelhead, and it's going to peer with the server-side steelhead here, and traffic will be redirected using policy-based forwarding. And so what's going to happen is whenever I do a connection to web.lab.com, it's going to actually peer with this server-side steelhead to do optimization before the traffic connects to the web server, web.lab.com. And so the way that this works is the Steelhead mobile client gets installed on this computer, this endpoint, right? And so it does its own proxy decryption. So when, as a user on this computer, when I browse to web.lab.com, I'm going to see that website certificate signed by Riverbed Mobile Client Internal CA Cert, because it's proxy decrypting. It needs to see the data inside so that it can cache it and replay it to make the connection super fast. If I look at the same file from the server multiple times, the first time will be the longest that it takes to download because it's caching the data as it flows through. And then repeated visits to that same data will be super fast because it's going to be replayed for the most part from the mobile client instead of being accessed over VPN and into the data center. And so the flow, right, there's a proxy decrypt on the mobile client. Then the mobile client has a secure peering to the server-side steelhead, and it does its own proxy decryption because it has a certificate that I self-sign generate on it that will be basically web.lab.com, which will form the secure connection between the mobile client and the server-side steelhead. And it does so over port TCP port 7800. And then the server-side steelhead will establish its own connection to the web server to pull the information down. And so when I browse initially, there's a decrypt going on here, a secure peering here, a decrypt here, and a connection here. And I pull a file down, and the data gets cached here and here, right? And so whenever I go to access it again, the client will replay the information to me if I've already visited it, right? So it makes it fast, but it also sends a request down to the server-side steelhead to say, hey, if there's any additional new data or any change to the data I have, please check with the web server and send that back to me, right? And so that's how it maintains consistency with the data, but also continues to provide exceptional speed for downloads, right? All right, so we're going to get down to business and configure this. So the first thing I'm going to do is I have all my required entities here. I have my Palo up, my Steelhead mobile controller, and my server-side Steelhead. So I'm going to go into the server-side Steelhead and I'm going to create my Empath interfaces. All right. So with this being virtual Empath, I'm only using one interface. It basically is the WAN interface. Any traffic that needs to be sent here is redirected here through policy-based forwarding, or you could also have a Riverbed interceptor that could send traffic this direction. You have a few options, right? Another thing you could do with steelheads is you can actually use what's called a LAN and a WAN interface and make all traffic pass through and just pick up on interesting traffic that you want to optimize, right? So I'm going to set an interface IP address, for this WAN interface. So we take a look at this topology real quick, and you can see right here's my server-side steelhead. The subnet being fed down from the Palo. The Palo is the gateway. It is 192.168.254.0/24. .100 is the steelhead Empath, and .1 is my gateway. So let me minimize this. I come back in here and I'll put in the IP address, and it's already there. I love that. So good, because I've done this a few times already. But anyway, all right, so typical settings for an interface: your IP address, subnet mask, gateway IP, right? Enable IPv4. Do not click this apply button. It only applies to things outside of this box. Very interesting. In order to apply this information, you need to go down to the bottom and click the apply button that's inside of the box. All right, cool. You must restart optimization service for your changes to take effect. So we're going to take a look at this real quick and just see what we got down here, because we should have some routing. And so you can see we have the directly connected subnet, and we also have a default route here based off of the gateway IP address. Perfect. All you need. So we're going to restart the service. You can clear the data store if you want. I haven't used this. I did a fresh install of Steelhead, so I'm going to go ahead and restart without deleting data that isn't there anyway. All right, cool. So when it comes up, I go down to the bottom here, double check. Okay, everything looks good. Another thing you want to do with this, and I've seen this happen before, when you put the interface in and you're using this virtual Empath instance and you're just using one interface with the gateway IP, you want to make sure that simplified routing is disabled, right? We do not want that. We want none, right? So simplified routing would be basically static routing, but since we're using a gateway IP, we don't want that. Warning, by turning off simplified routing, VLAN connection-based mapping currently enabled will not work properly. I don't need VLAN connected-based mapping. So I'm going to save that to disk. It's good to go. Go back to network, Empath interfaces again. I want to go ahead and see something here. So I want to see if I can ping that IP address, which I should be able to. So let me bring up command prompt here. Move it over. I'm going to do a ping 192.168.254.100. And cool, I have successful connection. That's awesome. All right, cool. All right, so the next thing we need to do, if you look at optimization and the Empath rules, right, this is what is basically telling you which traffic is going to be picked up and sent for optimization. So it's basically auto discover, right? The rest of this these other rules up here are pass-through rules, which you need in a large part, like the Riverbed transport protocols. You do not want to optimize those. There's interactive. I'm not sure what's in that port group, but anyway, the way that it differentiates this is source and destination, all IP, .star, which means any port. Destination, all IP secure. This is called a port group, right? And so, or a port label, my bad. So if you go into port labels under networking and you click on secure, and you'll see right here 443 is what we want, right? So we need to get rid of that because we want to be able to optimize. So it's going to end up hitting that bottom rule in the Empath rule list. As soon as I get this together, I'll come back here and take a look at it. Empath rules. And you can see once it gets to the bottom, it's going to actually be set to auto. Well, it's set to auto, but it will optimize, right? Perfect. It's what I want. So now, under optimization, I'm going into general service settings. I want to enable Empath support. enable L4 PBR WCCP interceptor support. So I'm using policy-based routing, so I want that, and enable optimizations on interface Empath 00. So this was already on. I think I had it on earlier and just forgot to turn it off. So this will not be on by default. You have to come in here and set it, right? So just be aware of that. Go ahead and do apply anyway. All right, cool. So back to optimization. I'm going to move over to the SSL side. SSL main settings. I want to enable SSL optimization. Go ahead and click apply. Restart services. So that's good to go. Now, SSL Server Certificates. I need to make a new certificate that is going to be for the connection between the server-side steelhead and the mobile client, right? It's going to be that secure peering. So basically, I'm going to make it the name or some subset of the name of the web server I'm trying to connect to. So star.lab.com. So any subdomain under lab.com will get picked up, and it's going to be web.lab.com. But anyway. All right, and we're going to generate a self-signed certificate. And down here, I'm going to change this information, which would be common name. I don't believe it has any SNI in it, so, but it's not needed because it's secure peering between the two devices, and they know how to talk. So, all right, perfect. Star.lab.com, and I'll make my key size 2048. That's what I typically use. Cool. And I'll go ahead and add this, and I don't care if it's exportable or not. Cool. Save to disk. So I have my secure peering for that specific website. Right. Everything looks good. I go back to optimization and secure peering. Right. So what I need to do is take this certificate and export it. And I will not include the private key because I don't need it. All right, so it's going to be SSL peer export 1, right? So I'm going to keep it like that. That's fine. And so I'm also going to need to get the Steelhead mobile controller CA cert and put it in here as well, which I'll do in a moment. All right, cool. So I've got that certificate exported. I'm also going to go into optimization, and I'm going to add in to my certificate authorities my local CA cert, so that when I browse this website, the server-side steelhead will trust the connection and actually connect. If I don't, it will throw an error and will not optimize. So I'm going to go back here to my desktop, look for NMS. There it is. Add that in there. Local name, NMS. Actually, let me leave it off. Let me see what it looks like. You can just throw it in there like this. All right, so it takes a minute for it to load. All right, when it comes up, it will be at the very top. You can see the certificate name is ridiculous, right? I don't know if it's serial number or what it is, but anyway, it's in there. It's trusted cert, trusted CA cert, so I'm good to go with that, right? So next, I'm going to go into the mobile controller. I'm going to log into it. I got kicked out for some reason. It's sitting here too long. Hopefully I didn't fudge that. Okay, perfect. All right, awesome. So peering, right? I'm going to add a new trusted entity, and it's going to be that local file, the one that I just downloaded, which was the SSL peer export 1. All right, looks good. Click add, and there it is from my steelhead. Perfect. All right, my signing CA cert. This is coming from the Steelhead mobile controller. I'm going to replace this. It says fake host name.example.com. So I'm going to replace that, generate a new private key and self-sign public cert. All right, I'm going to take that to 2048. I'm going to change this to the actual name. It doesn't really matter. Actually, I probably could use fake host name.com. It doesn't matter, but I'm going to do it anyway. smc.lab.com. All right, everything looks good. I'm going to generate this. Wait for it to come back. Perfect. Now I'm going to export this. All right, I don't need the private key. Export, SSL signing export. If I show in folder, I'm sure it's got a 1. Yep, SSL signing export. Okay, perfect. Okay, cool. So I've got that, and I can come back to the server-side steelhead, optimization, secure peering, scroll down to the mobile trust, add mobile trust, locate that file real quick, and it's going to be SSL signing export 1. Perfect. Add it. Scroll down again and you can see here it is, smc.lab.com. We are good to go. So server-side steelhead should be good to go. We need to move over to the mobile controller and finish this up. All right, cool. So we got our peering certificate. We have exported our signing CA certificate, and that's good to go. All right, certificate authorities. We don't have to worry about putting NMS in here because the mobile controller is not trying to connect there, but I'm not sure if it's in here or not, but I doubt it. NMS. Nope, it is not. So I'm just going to leave it alone because we don't need it. All right, cool. So configure SSL peering. That's good to go. System settings, networking, no problem there. Okay, yeah, we need to go into port labels again on this side because 443 is in there. We need to get rid of it. Cool. Apply. Should be good to go. Go ahead and save it. All right. So working our way down through here. SSL is good to go. It's already done. All that's good. So we're going to go to policies at this point. And we're going to use the initial policy. I'm not going to change anything. All right, so Empath Rules, you can see it's sort of the same thing that was on the server-side steelhead. You got your pass-throughs, right? And then there's a catch-all at the bottom. It basically says all this stuff, if possible, optimize it. Right? So you go to SSL and enable SSL optimization and enable SSL proxy support, right? And you can see down here the peering certificate is already here. It's good to go. So I'm going to update the policy there. Very nice. I go back into manage and go to packages. So default package, I'm going to click on that, and my actual client version that I want to use is 611, number 26. So this is the package that I need to download and install on my computer here. So I'm going to download the 64-bit option here, and this is actually using the initial policy that was already created there, right? You can take a look at assignments. So you can see default inherited from default, right? Desktop initial. So you go back to packages, pull this package down and get it installed because we can see more information off the mobile client when it's on the computer. So I'm going to download this. All right. Perfect. So let me do a save here too because I haven't done that yet. All right, so it's in. Now I'm going to go ahead and install this on my local computer. Next. Right over here where we can see it. I accept the license. Yep, good. Typical is good. And all that's good. So we're going to go ahead and install this. I'm going to let this run. All right, so installation finished. If I open up the mobile client, you can see what it looks like right here. So set to configuring. It's connecting to smc.lab.com over port TCP port 7870, right? So we are not ready to go yet. We are not directing traffic to the server-side steelhead yet. So if I take a look here and just see what we have, or what the settings are, there's a lot of different things you can check out here. You can restart the client. You can look at your certificates. The certificates in particular, it's kind of interesting. I'll get to this in a minute. Advanced SSL CA certificate is the one that the mobile client will use to proxy decrypt and throw to the client. Well, this certificate's got some problems. and I'll show you that shortly. It actually will not be trusted by Chrome. Internet Explorer will trust it, but it says it's using a weak cipher if I try to use this in Chrome. So that is something that I cannot work around, I guess, based on the fact that I'm using trial versions of the software. So I'll go ahead and close that down. Anyway, lots of good information here. Yeah, everything's good. All right, cool. So nothing's going to be happening yet because I do not have a server-side steelhead. So I'm going to cancel this out. I'm going to go into the Palo. Okay. And so I need to put in my policy-based forwarding rules. So the first rule I'm going to put in is going to be, I'm just going to make it RN, Riverbed in, right? The zone it's going to be coming from is going to be VPN. The source address is my pool, which is 172.16.101 through 100. All right, no user information. The destination address is going to be going to web.lab.com, right? So I'm going to use an FQDN object, so it will, the firewall will resolve when the IP address comes through to see if it matches this or not, right? So that's perfect. As long as you got DNS connection to your firewalls, these are great objects to use. Very helpful. And in my service, I'm going to add in TCP 443. Forwarding, I'm going to forward this down to the server-side steelhead. 1/8.254, so it's .1q tag 254 going down to my virtual steelhead. So that's good to go. Next hop address is going to be the 192.168.254.100. All right, all that looks good. I'm going to say OK. Now, for policy-based forwarding, since it's routing, it's connectionless, I need rules in both directions. So this is going to be rout. Source address, well, source location is going to be farm. Source address is going to be web.lab.com. It's coming from there, right? No user information. Destination address is going to be my pool, 172.16.01 through 100. Applications, don't care. Service, don't care. It's actually going to be returning to an ephemeral port, so I really have no way of matching on that. And applications and policy-based forwarding rules is a terrible idea. The flow needs to persist for a little while for the application to be accurately decoded and find a match, right? And so policy-based forwarding is like it's routing IP right off the bat, so I don't want to have any effect with applications. And in fact, if you make custom applications, you can't use them anyway. So forwarding, it's going to forward. Egress interface is going to be, again, 1/8.254 back down to the steelhead because I need it to return through the steelhead. Next hop IP address, 192.168.254. And there it is. Perfect. So take a look at my rules here. Everything looks correct. So I'm going to commit this. As soon as it gets going, I will be right back. Okay, so the commit is complete. So I'm going to do a quick test here. I am going to bring up the mobile client. Right over here. I'll just click on it in a moment after I browse. So I'm going to attempt to browse to web.lab.com. Alright, take a look at the certificate. See if anything's changed. Not yet. Let me refresh. And this is where we get this change here. Alright, awesome. So if I bring up the client, you can see right here that it's being optimized, right? And this is the symbol, these arrows that show that it is being proxied for optimization. And if I go up here and I take a look at the certificate, you can see that the certificate is now issued by Riverbed Steelhead Mobile Client Internal CA Cert, right? Web.lab.com. All good. Fully trusted, everything. Although Chrome does not like it. So if I go Control-Shift-I into Developer Tools and look at Security, connection, obsolete connection settings. The connection to the site is encrypted and authenticated using TLS 1.0, elliptic curve Diffie-Hellman exchange RSA with P256. I think it's elliptic curve cipher key exchange, and an AES 128 cipher block chaining, HMAC SHA-1. So it says down here TLS 1 is obsolete. We know it is. So it should be TLS 1.2. I'm not sure why the Riverbed mobile client CA cert is enforcing a TLS 1.0 connection. I don't know. See, and then AES 128 CBC, cipher block chaining, is obsolete. Enable AES GCM. So, yeah, not really sure. Again, I think it has to do with the fact that I'm using trial versions of the software. But anyway, I tried to update to the latest mobile client, and I still get the same result. So if I bring up Internet Explorer, and I will browse to the website this way, and it comes up and you can see it's fully trusted because IE sucks, doesn't care about the security. Anyway, cool. All right, so we got what we want. So I'm going to take a look here, and I want to try this downloading this file, right? I have included in the HTML an A record or href to a file that's located on the server, so I want to download that and see what sort of speed I get. Right, so I should have, if I look at my mobile client, IE Explorer, there it is, right? So set for optimization. I come here and do a download, save target as. When it comes up, I'm going to put it on my desktop. Save. All right. So it's already completed. I don't know. There's no way I should have had it cached, but anyway. Take a look here. Let me try. It didn't like that. Let me try coming from here real quick. Download. Let me open it. All right, so it's loading up. If I take a look at the client, Chrome, and you can see right here, as far as loading up this file, since I had already loaded it and it was cached, I had a 77% reduction. Alright, so I really wanted to put this to the test. So I ended up connecting via Wi-Fi to a cellular hotspot. So we'll see how that works out. So right now, I am up, connected, Global Protect, VPN tunnel is up. The mobile client is connected. Everything looks good. So I'm going to go to, line up my fingers. web.lab.com. All right, cool. So I'm here. Okay, awesome. There we go. Now I'm seeing my optimized connections there. So I'm going to download this file real quick. Let's see how it runs here, and it's doing really good. So it might still be cached, actually. Let me try it again. Okay. Yep, looks about the same. All right, cool. So I'm going to go into, first off, I'm going to go into history here. And I'm going to clear browsing data, everything, all time. Okay. Close down my browser. You see I had a, based off of this flow right here, 99% reduction. So, I mean, it's still good. And if you look at the data traffic, so 85, well, we'll look at it when it comes back. All right. It disappeared on me. Okay, so I'm going to go into the Steelhead. Once that comes up, log in. I don't know why that box just needs to go away. I don't know. Anyway, optimization. Let's go to advanced settings. I just need to make a change in here to force it to restart. Restart services. Clear the data store. Cool. That's exactly what I want. Now I'm going to turn that back on. Okay. Do an apply. Save the disk. I don't know why I did that. Restart. Bam. Well, looks like it took anyway, even without the restart. So, all right, we're starting fresh. Let's see what happens. Should have wiped out any cache data, so it should have to start all over again, right? So, web.lab.com. Loading up. Take a look at Steelhead mobile client. So it shows that we are up. So I'm going to try this, download again. It's a pretty good size file. There we go. That's exactly what I'm looking for, right? So it's taken a while, right? And if we look at the mobile client right now, you can see the reduction is dropping, the percentage, right? So we have this file is 40 something meg, right? So it says 40.9 over WAN. We had a 9.8 meg transfer. I'm not really understanding that. It seems like we needed to cache everything as it came through because we didn't have it any longer. But anyway, all right, cool. So I'm going to minimize this. I'm going to go back up here to history again. Clear browsing data. Clear it all out. All right. I'm going to close everything down. I'm going to open it up again. Browse to the website. It's going to come up. Let's see here. Should see it in Chrome. If we don't, I'm just going to go ahead and press ahead with the download. Okay, there we go. All right, now we're going to download again. And you can see it's moving exceptionally faster. All right, so it's perfect. So you can see when you look at the client that overall, depending on which flow happened, I don't know if it was 2 flows consecutively, what that was supposed to mean, but this should be the bulk of the data. So over LAN, so from the mobile client to my browser, is a transfer of 42.7 meg, right? But over WAN, I only transferred 182K. Like, that's pretty amazing, right? If you look at the settings, resource allocation for my mobile client, I have it set to auto, which is 10 gigabytes of storage locally, right? So it stores and caches the files so it can replay them, right? So that's pretty cool. So anyway, that I just wanted to make sure I provided a full test so you can see how optimization actually affects the data coming across and how much faster it is, right? And by doing this, you know, connecting over a cellular Wi-Fi hotspot and coming back into my home network, I was able to accurately produce the results that we were looking for. So that's it, and thank you for watching.